Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight, the podcast that brings you all of the latest going on in the world of movies and more. I'm your host today, Alexis Soto, and I'm joined by our wonderful friends here. First of all, Alexis Moreno and David Francisco, coming to us from lovely Tucson, Arizona. That's the first time I ever referred to Tucson as lovely, but you gotta give them something these days, I guess. How are you two doing today?
Good. Thank you.
And we're also joined by podcast creator here at Red Spotlight, Kyle Lira, for the first time in, I don't know, a long-ass time. How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm alive.
That's great. And on that note, somebody else who has pretty much coined that term was supposed to be here with us today, but at the last minute, he died. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about what is going on in the world of movies.
And here in the podcast, we insert a montage of Peter's greatest hits since he died. That way, you know, and we'll go all the way back. Let's play this clip when he mispronounced Suicide Squad for Suicide Squad. So take it away.
You know, this actually would be a nice... I don't know how we would, cut down his rant on BVS from all those years ago. Because that was a pretty long rant about Batman not needing to kill. Or... that was a whole thing.
Yes.
So, yeah. No, he was supposed to be here tonight, and it turns out he's not. So, we're going to move on beyond that. The last few weeks, we've been talking about... the movies that we've been seeing, and if you are so inclined, you can look up reviews on our recent films that we saw, like Asteroid City, Elemental, Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible, Spider-Verse, Transformers, No Hard Feelings, The Flash, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and that's a lot of movies. Yes. Jesus, we see a lot. The one I think that we haven't had anybody go and see, maybe because of a pure lack of interest, maybe because we just don't want to, inflict self-harm on ourselves, but that would be the latest Little Mermaid 2023 movie. No one has bothered to go see that film on our team.
It's so funny. Day in and day out, I often forget that came out.
And here I was the exact same way with Elemental, and then apparently also now even more Haunted Mansion. Because at least with Elemental, I do want to see it. Haunted Mansion, I have no interest in seeing. And clearly Disney has no interest in even reminding anybody that it exists, because it comes out this week.
Wait, what's Elemental?
It's a Pixar film. Alexis and David reviewed it, and we talked about it last week on the show. But, I mean, I'm sorry. I feel like the message is pretty clear. If you are releasing a Haunted Mansion movie in July, are you wanting it to die?
It's so...
I mean...
It's so stupid.
I mean, history repeats itself, right? They released Hocus Pocus in the middle of the summer, and that became a box office flop. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance with the movie now, but there's not a lot of, it took time to accumulate. That movie took time to accumulate its level in pop culture. So,
well, I can't make a prediction right now. That's not going to happen with this new movie.
Oh, of course.
I'm very well aware of that. But the comparison, yeah, Disney does make these mistakes. But to be clear, though, to be a little bit fair, once upon a time earlier this year, Haunted Mansion was not the movie that was going to come out this week. It was The Marvels. So in another reality, The Marvels would actually be coming out this week.
That movie could have easily come out this week. I don't know why. Oh wait, no! It's because a musical scared focus groups. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was testing very poorly, and they needed to reshoot a lot of things, and that's why it's coming out in November. But I mean, I guess we'll see if it's still coming out in November.
Are those writers getting paid, by the way? Who did all the rewrites? No? Too soon? Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I would probably think
Not.
in these current times that's not necessarily happening, but yeah. Anyway, that's where we are right now. Just to segue into where kind of what Kyle was alluding to. Of course, the strikes are ongoing at the moment. We still have the writers and we still have the actors that are striking, power to them, of course, and all of us are hoping and rooting for them to get the best deal that they could possibly get. And some details have been leaked, and something that we should, I would say, share. According to Puck News, this actually came out just today, the very deal that the AMPTP, that's the joint studios, the very deal that they're refusing the actors would only cost them, the studios, each, $23 million a year.
That's like buying a fucking candy bar to them. I mean,
It would only cost them $23 million a year. By the way, one of those studios pays their CEO $27 million a year.
He can live off $4 million. Fuck it.
Yeah, he could. He should.
Yeah.
He doesn't even need to be paid a cent. So, to that ridiculousness to another, we're now hearing a lot of rumors that are disconcerting. One isn't actually one because it already has been moved away. In September, the latest film by Luca Guadagnino, starring Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor, Challengers, was supposed to come out. And now it's been pushed to April 2024. That's so far away to think it was this close, and now it's so far away. It was supposed to open one of the upcoming film festivals, and since the stars, by the way, as a result of this strike, cannot promote these movies, the decision was made to push that film, and which would be one thing if that was the one project that was considering doing that. But in the days since the strike was first authorized, there have been many more studios that have been letting those rumors swirl around Hollywood about what potentially could be next. Disney is considering, according to these rumors, pushing Wish out of 2023, their upcoming animated film that was supposed to come out in November. And Warner Brothers Discovery is considering pushing Dune Part 2 into 2024 as well. And you can probably think that, well, yes, to a certain extent, the stars do need to be out there to push the films. That way they do have the promotion and everything. But you also can't help but feel that the studios seemingly think this is going to help them as far as winning the war on public perception by somehow, maybe you can read the lines and read between the lines and think that this is the studio's way of like pinning this on the actors, saying, see, this is your fault. People are not going to get anything new because you refuse to work. Now, that's just pure conjecture on my part. I don't know if that's exactly what's behind all of this, but these next few days, these next few weeks are going to be really monumental. Are we going to have a full calendar year, or are we going to go through a repeat of 2020?
What sounds really asinine at this point is just the sheer notion that we'd rather not make money than pay these people.
Yeah. But then it also is like, okay, so you have money to keep up with whatever you're doing, while also not making money. And like the money that you could be making is just like you could just pay them already. Like it doesn't make any sense.
No, right? Like, they're literally going to be bleeding money every single day. These movies not coming out is going to cost them money every single day. By the way, it doesn't even get into the number of movies this year that have cost the studios hundreds of millions of dollars. The Flash alone is going to lose Warner Brothers Discovery to over $200 million. That movie alone is going to cost them that much money. And yet, the actors is only going to cost WB $23 million a year. The numbers aren't adding up here, and it doesn't take a lot.
Is there no budgeting committee?
It does. Clearly, there isn't, because these budgets have been out of control for a long time, and it's obviously to a point where there need to be some consequences, but that isn't happening. A lot of these films are well over budgeted and are crashing pretty hard. You know, I don't know how you can like spin this as anything other than greed is where it is right now, because there seems to be no good reason why this is even happening. The only reason that I can see is, they just don't want to pay them. They don't want to pay them money that they're already losing times 10 in a variety of different other categories. It just makes you put your hands up and like, okay, then what's going on here?
I mean, David, Alexis, what do you guys think about this whole thing?
Just pay them. Like, I don't understand. Even if like, Warner Brothers, they lost all that money. But like, they have Dune that I'm sure is gonna be, making some money. When we were talking about Blue Beetle earlier, I feel like it's gonna be okay. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But like, that's still money coming in. You know what I mean? Like,
it's going to get a decent return for sure, but it's not a tent pole that'll pull people in. I'm sorry, but it's just not. And I don't see it like veering any other direction other than that. I mean, it looks like we're seeing an onward, onset pattern of superhero movies just dipping in, in the box office, proficiently, with the exception of like Guardians or Spider-Verse. But the thing is that the quality spoke for itself, that there needn't be marketing or anything like that surrounding it. Versus, you have the Flash, which has already been plagued with, with problems, and in Blue Beetle, people's the DC brand still stinks, and unfortunately it's going to be tagged to Blue Beetle. I just think also I don't think that the Marvels is going to do as good as people.
Does anybody here think it's gonna do any good? I'm kind of curious to see how not so good it does. I don't have any kind of sense that movie is gonna perform that well at all. And if anything, some people were even saying that they dodged a bullet coming out this week against Barbie. So they may be better off in November. David?
Well, I don't think it really has to do with the quality of it. I just think people are far more excited about Barbie than really any other movie.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah, and so with the Marvels though, I think it might do well.
Did we like the new trailer? It kind of seemed more of the same to me. Did anybody care for the new trailer?
It was fine. I mentioned it before. I'm mostly just excited for Miss Marvel. Like, I think they got something good going with her, probably being like their next Spider-Man. Just kind of move on, make do something better with Tom Holland, obviously, but like
No,
she
that
can
would
be
suggest they have the sense to actually use her like that. There's not much sense going on over there in the house of the MCU these days.
Yeah. But also,
go ahead.
But Captain Marvel, it did well in the box office. Yeah, I know, partly because it was between Infinity War and Endgame, but there were some people that were like pretty big fans of the movie, you know, and so I think those people will probably come back for this one, and we'll see. I think if there's a couple of good reviews saying like, yeah, it's fun. Like maybe they got great chemistry, all three of the actresses. I think the numbers will probably be up.
Versus the loud dude bros on the internet and all that stuff. So,
yeah, the film definitely has an uphill climb already with that going at it. But of course, the diminishing returns of Marvel. Like again, I feel like how can you not feel that the lack of attention and quite frankly the very lackluster reception Secret Invasion has gotten is not going to hurt it.
I don't know. People just don't care about superheroes anymore. They just don't. It's become, the thing is that like Warner Brothers is at fault at this, as well. And it's just, they just try to shove so much up our ass all at once, and they're looking at, we have this one success. We're gonna because that's all we have, really. Other than Star Wars and Marvel, what other money has been put into Disney within the last, a few years? Nothing. It's all been IP driven, and honestly, a lot of people, with the exception of Barbie, but Barbie
pretty good.
It's done pretty well considering how low the expectations were.
But what I mean is that you look at Barbie and you look at Oppenheimer, and those scream classic blockbusters. What?
Nothing. We'll get to it in a minute. There is a lot to be said here as far as what audiences are tired of. Okay. Yes, I think the reason why a lot of superhero films are tanking this year is I think they're tired of the same old, and the same old has been on the law of diminishing returns for years and years now. By and large, the majority of superhero content has been very lackluster for a while now, and it's beginning to take its toll on all of them. Save for the ones that happen to be exceptional that were able to be saved by it, like Guardians 3 and Across the Spider-Verse. The rule has remained for the rest of them, which is why I know you made the comment, Kyle, that you feel like maybe Blue Beetle might make some decent amount of change. While the tracking numbers suggest it's looking for a $12 million opening weekend. Well, okay, which is pretty fucking abysmal.
No, I mean like that in terms of what's inside the movie itself. I'm not necessarily talking about box office.
Okay, sure, and that's fair. But the overall conversation about, what exactly audiences are tired of, it's not just the superheroes, but a lot of the IP that has come out lately has just not been doing it. I do want to single out, though, Mission Impossible, because I don't think it's fair to put this with the other ones. Mission Impossible had the misfortune of no one around it having any kind of idea years ago how big of a juggernaut Barbenheimer would be. And I feel like if Mission Impossible had moved to August, where there really isn't much competition, like when Fallout was the last film that came out in August and it had literally no competition and it dominated, it would have been doing so much better. And I was really sad to see that Mission Impossible tanked 62% in its second weekend, which is far larger than the previous two entries because of how much competition. I mean, it's really sad that, and I'm sure Tom Cruise is just so like shell-shocked as to like how abandoned he was by. Now you can make the argument that like, well, how come he and nobody else at Paramount thought to move it at the last minute or close to the last minute when they realized how big of a thing Barbenheimer would be. I feel like with what's come to light, literally no one had any idea how really big this would be. So putting that one to the side, as far as everything else is concerned, when you throw in Little Mermaid, when you throw in Transformers, and you throw in even Indiana Jones and The Flash, there's just a considerable lack of interest and Fast X as well. That one also probably did the worst of any of the Fast and Furious movies. That just shows you that there are a lot of these faces, there are a lot of these IPs that the audience is just done and over with. And the stuff that has been doing very well, and the most well, is stuff that hasn't really been at the cinema, like Mario. Mario exploded like nobody's business because it has not had a presence at the box office in like ever, maybe since like the first movie in like the 90s, a long ass time ago. But even more with what's happening right now with Barbenheimer. It is, well, even particularly with just, Barbie, opened to $155 million. It was the highest opening of the entire year. Combined with Oppenheimer, which brought in $80 million, it is the fourth largest opening of all time. And probably, no, not probably, it is the largest opening of all time when it comes to the two films that are buoying it up are as close as original as you can be. Now, of course, Barbie is technically correct based off an intellectual property, and Oppenheimer is a biopic based off of somebody's real life and real story events, but they still brought an overwhelming flair of originality that had not really been around, particularly for this entire summer. And it really says a lot that these two came in and crushed it and put everyone else to shame as far as opening it. I mean, the idea that a Barbie film literally opened to almost 100 million more than Indiana Jones 5, almost 100 million more than The Flash, almost 100 million more than Mission Impossible, almost 100 million more than Transformers. It's a kind of a wackadoodle time because finally the real original quality works are kind of being appreciated in a way that they haven't been before.
Let me put it this way: the thing is that if your movie ain't trending on TikTok, it's not gonna progress. If it's not an Instagram hashtag that is gonna soothe the aesthetic bites, it's not gonna move anywhere. And honestly, indie was not gonna do that. No matter how hard they tried, it wasn't gonna do that because let's be honest, it's a boomer IP now. Flash is just 10 years of just this and this, and not only that, but Ezra Miller.
I think like people. Well, yes, people are tired of the same thing over and over again, but it's also like it turned into much more than just like going to watch a movie. It's like,
yes,
and when you look back, like the last time we had that before 2020 was probably Endgame.
Yes.
And then after that, I don't even know, like probably Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. No Way Home, probably.
Like, we all as a collective were like so excited for this movie. Super Mario Bros. That could be another one. I think people are more about the experience, especially after 2020 when we were all alone crying. It
was definitely a cultural event.
Yeah, and I think
with
that's
what we
people,
witnessed,
crave now, connection, and you know what I mean.
And the thing is that once you've experienced one recent Marvel movie, I mean, you've pretty much experienced them all already. And like you were saying, it's just building up on an experience that's helping. Super Mario Brothers, oh my God. As soon as the first teaser trailer dropped, on Nintendo Direct, by the way, listen to Quest Center. No, but yeah, so once that dropped on Nintendo Direct, like the hype was real. There was no way that movie wasn't going to cross $1 billion. And not only that, but it's kind of a Christmas miracle because it crossed $1 billion within what, 3 weeks? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that.
3 or 4 weeks,
you know,
probably,
and
yeah.
so like that's almost unheard of, you know, post-pandemic numbers. So, you know, and you know, however you may, you know, scoff at the quality of the movie, that's entirely different. But the thing is that it wasn't the quality. It was like more of, like what Moreno said, it was the collective experience that everybody had. You know, a bunch of fucking sweaty ass Nintendo nerds sitting, you know, going and watching and getting all the Easter egg references and pinpointing to one another. Oh, did you see that Yoshi egg? Or, oh, you know, that's the blue shell. Like that's a collective experience that people just had to go to the movies for. The Flash, what are people going to be like? Oh, he said that one thing from '89 Batman, but yet we already saw it in the trailer, so we don't have to see it anymore. You know, I mean, it's just there's nothing to experience. Barbie, however, that was promising camp galore. It was promising, you know, all that stuff, and it delivered. You know, Oppenheimer promised this giant Christopher Nolan epic, probably bigger than The Dark Knight itself. And people were completely, what?
Why are you saying it like that?
What, Oppenheimer? Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck y'all. Anyway, so... Oppenheimer,
says the one who just made fun of Peter.
fuck y'all. I gotta say Oppenheimer however I want. All right. All right. So yeah, with Oppenheimer, people were expecting it to be like this Dark Knight, you know, esque, you know, Nolan film, and it delivered. Oppenheimer delivered.
Okay, before we get to the films, I want to get a reaction from you guys as to what the scene was like at your theaters when you went to go and see these movies. Alexis, David, I want to start with you guys.
Pink.
Nothing but pink.
Nothing but pink.
Pink was there.
My mom made my dad wear pink.
Yeah, and I met my parents at a restaurant before going to the movie, and it was like near the theater, and we see like this family, like, I don't know, pink? 10 people all wearing pink and everything. They were celebrating a birthday too, but yeah.
It was insane, wasn't it? The amount of pink that I think all the employees,
the amount of people, both days, because me and David saw the movies on separate days. Mm-hmm. Yesterday we couldn't find parking. Like it was crazy. On Thursday we saw Barbie. And we went pretty early, but it was still really busy. Mm-hmm. And the theater was packed. That was like, I hadn't had that experience in a while, but there was like a bunch of kids everywhere. And in important moments, there was children screaming behind me, and I was just like, okay.
An important moment?
Important moments. Like
yes, making a gynecologist appointment is the most key part of the movie ever, and I would imagine that's what made people scream.
It's really interesting, of course, to hear that, because I wouldn't necessarily think that either of these films were made for children in mind. Not small children anyway.
Well, that was like the funny part, or the thing that I thought was funny, because with Barbie, at least, like, I understand, I kind of see why it made a lot of movie, because a lot of people took their kids. So, like, that makes sense to me. But yeah, like,
Barbie is rated R, isn't it?
No.
Barbie is PG-13.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, it's Oppenheimer that's rated R.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't take the
And
kids.
by the way, well, speaking of, we had kids.
Oh. Interesting.
in our Oppenheimer screening.
Hmm?
And tell me how many times I heard them yawn behind me.
Anyways, so like it's funny because like
Who brings their kids
I
to
know,
that
that's
movie? I'm just like,
wild.
you're gonna be bored to death. It's 3 hours.
And like people were asking me like, oh, like I want to take my daughter, I want to take my kids, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, take him. Like I think that they'll still have a good time. It's very colorful, very funny, bright, loud, but I just don't think that they're gonna understand it.
A lot of the concepts is, I think,
Very
too
adult.
too narrow of a concept for them to formally understand.
Yeah.
So I think, it's weird.
But it also, I think we can all say that it was just nice to see people out and enjoying the movies again,
Yeah.
right? Because it just, you do miss that. For us that literally go all the time and see as much as we can, we have seen in the last few years
How
a bit of a
empty.
dip
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a dip in participation from the mainstream people, and it just makes you sad because oftentimes it leaves you feeling like you're, I don't know, engaging in a dying art form. And then here we have weeks like this where it reminds us that no, it actually isn't. And I mean, again, the idea that Barbie 155 and then Oppenheimer, which is like a 3-hour R-rated biopic, really.
It's called
$80 million.
Oppenheimer.
You know? So, yeah. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into these films.
Wait, what was your guys' experience?
Oh, I mean, the same thing pretty much. We
But
walked
you guys
in.
you guys did Barbenheimer. I wanted to,
yeah,
but
we
nobody
literally-
else
yeah.
wanted to.
The
Oh,
employees all wore pink, and we're all, decked out. It's clearly that was the selling point of the evening. And I think we had a good, decent size for Oppenheimer.
What time did you guys get out of the movies?
We didn't get out until like 11:30-ish or something
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
That's not too bad.
We got in at like 5. Then got in at 11:30.
Yeah. But yeah, so for Oppenheimer, we had a bunch of it was a decent size crowd, but then I was looking at just troves of people piling in for Barbie, and I'm like, okay, that's where the priority that's where the priorities are going to be this weekend. So that was just a sample, and I mean, everybody. We'll get into it when we get talking to.
It didn't feel particularly exhausting, and maybe just be that we're at least I am anyway used to double features at this point. But I thought it was if nothing else, a very memorable double feature, especially, and of course that kind of like went into the whole craze is how different the films were. They have some things thematically in common, but for the most part,
that's what I really liked about watching these. Like yesterday when we got home, I was telling David, like, I'm so glad that these movies came out at the same time, and it caused these big things, because both of these movies have very interesting topics, and they kind of mesh together as well, which is so weird.
Yeah,
and I had a friend who did Barbenheimer, and he texted me after he got out, because I think he did Oppenheimer first and then Barbie second, and which
is what we did.
He got out of Barbie, and he was like, "You should have done this. Like, it's such a trip. Like, going from this like super serious dark movie with heavy topics to this other super light movie with also very heavy topics."
Yeah, I love the scene in Oppenheimer when he was struggling with the ideals of feminism. I just that blew me away.
Yeah. Anyway, it was definitely a special week, and what is really curious to see is how they perform this week. Everyone is going to be looking at to see how their second week holds look like, and then also how badly Haunted Mansion does.
I feel
anyway, let's.
Oppenheimer is gonna come up this week, because I feel like a lot of people went to go see Barbie this week, and then with what is it, word of mouth, they're gonna be like, oh, maybe I should watch this one. But it's also 3 hours long, though, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's also 3 hours long. It's also a biopic, but you know what? You can't underestimate the cult of Nolan. They always show up for his movies. I mean, they even showed up during COVID.
But it's okay. If it doesn't wind up in Oppenheimer's favor, he's Knuff.
Anyway, yes, I'm really curious to see how it does as the weeks go on by. Nolan movies definitely or usually open at this time, and they do, for the most part. All of them have done very well, so I would expect nothing less. But again, it is a bit challenging, more than his usual fare, because what he usually does, one of his usual ingredients in his films is a decent bit of action sequences. And that's missing from this one. And so some people may not be as receptive to this one as his previous works. But
well, I mean, Cillian Murphy was getting some action in the movie, but...
So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into our first review here. We're going to start off in the order that we did it, which was Oppenheimer. This is, of course, directed by Christopher Nolan. The description here, the world forever changes. The story of J. Robert Oppenheimer's role in the development of the atomic bomb during World War II. So, yeah, pretty light stuff going on in this movie.
Explosive
not really at all.
Description.
Yeah, rather explosive.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happens here. So the movie is basically about this scientist during the era of World War II that wants to, or is contracted basically to make a bomb on behalf of the U.S. government so they can defeat the Nazis, even though it turns out, historically speaking, that didn't necessarily work out since the Nazis were long defeated before the bomb was even completed, which we'll get into here. Okay, so I'll go here first to set the table. Nolan has been hit or miss for me. I would say I've not seen most of... I haven't seen some of his movies. I haven't seen Insomnia. I haven't seen The Prestige. But I have seen... I need to get to...
That one.
Seeing those.
It's worth it.
But I have seen Batman Begins, of course, The Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Inception, and Dunkirk. I did not see Tenet because I was just literally not interested in it. I would say that as far as his Batman movies are concerned, they're obviously very good, but the only one that does anything for me is obviously The Dark Knight, which is one of the best movies like ever and always will be. It's just incredible. I really liked Inception. No, I'm sorry. I really liked Interstellar, and I really, really loved Inception. That one I remember vividly well. And then as far as Dunkirk is concerned, well, I thought it was kind of a wash. Didn't really connect with me at all. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I wasn't sure how to feel about this movie going into it. But that's just kind of where I've been with Nolan. Real quickly, I want to go around with you guys. What do you guys feel of Nolan's work up until now? Alexis?
I'm basically where you are, except I still haven't seen Interstellar. So I mean, I've seen even less movies of him than you have, but I mean, yeah, like The Dark Knight is a Dark Knight. But I feel like we made fun of the movie when everything started coming out for it, but then when I saw the trailer and I like realized what it was about, I got excited because I love these types of movies, like history movies and stuff like that. So I was pretty excited to see it.
No, yeah, I really enjoyed the trailers, and I was interested in the subject material for sure. David, what about you?
I really like Nolan's movies. I actually really enjoyed Dunkirk. Everyone else seems to hate it, but like, I don't know. It's just something. I think what he does really well is pacing, and to me, the pacing was really, really good in Dunkirk, despite it was probably like one of the slowest films, I guess you can say, from his, and no characters really in that movie. Yeah. But like, I don't know, just something about it that I'm like, okay, I know what you're doing, and I'm really liking this pacing of it all, the story the connecting stories that you're trying to tell. It's like, I just found it really, really interesting. Because of the whole Tenet thing, I had like a I don't know,
It was weird. It was
my love
awkward.
Yeah, I wasn't like into him anymore and all that. It was just kind of like it really threw me off.
I mean, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth when he just put himself out there and said, my movie's important enough to release in July of 2020, the first year of COVID, almost a year before there were any vaccines. And a lot of people actually went to go see his movie in theaters, and it just was not it was not the time and it was not the place to do so. And we still can't believe he did that. And I feel that's a large part as to why none of us have seen Tenet.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I can't. No one can deny though, like fucking Oppenheimer was fucking fantastic, and it really just proves that he is a great filmmaker, storyteller. You know, people will always be iffy about that, but like you still can't deny that he makes some great looking movies and all that. Yeah. And I do really highly recommend Prestige. I think that's probably like the best one out of all the ones I've seen. I've seen that one.
Interesting.
Batman movies, Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception, and this one.
Inception.
I think that's probably the best one out of all of them, just because I feel like that one is. Yeah, I think
David's also really been into magicians since he was little. So
this was
there's that.
This was way after that. Okay, I only saw it like, I don't know. I think before moving here for sure, but like way after high school. But yeah.
All right, Kyle.
Nolan. Well, I got my start in 2005 when I saw Batman Begins with his work. And
then you saw Batman 89 thinking it was the sequel.
I watched Batman 89 because I thought it was like a prequel or something like that, because it flipped over the Joker, and I'm told that the Joker appears in, you know what, shut the fuck up, all right? You know, I don't need this right now in my life.
That's a great
Thank
story.
you.
I love this. Continue.
That's a great story, though. I love it.
I was disappointed that it wasn't the same. But honestly, I was like, but I love the movie nonetheless.
Yeah. The first Batman Begins when I was little scared the shit out of me. I hated it. I couldn't watch it. We had the DVD. I couldn't be near it because it would freak me out.
Oh my god.
Really? All I think you need to do is lighten up.
And I actually watched it recently because I didn't watch it like after that. Like every time it was on TV, I would just flip it. And I watched it recently because I think it was like when they first put them on Netflix or wherever they were. And I was like, huh. I literally did not remember a single thing about this movie. I didn't know. Like, I remember, like, the Ra's al Ghul stuff, but everything else, I blocked it out. I completely blocked it out. So it was literally me watching it for the first time again, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
It is a damn good movie, and a great start to my love for Batman and all that stuff. I love Batman. I fell in love with the character and the world ever since. And all that stuff. I mean, it wasn't my proper introduction to Batman because I saw the Adam West Batman movies, and so I think that.
So you saw the Adam West Batman stuff first, then Batman Begins, then Batman 89, and then at some point afterward the animated series?
Yeah, because I was able to differentiate that. Oh, this is the 60s. Things are wacky and goofy and stuff like that. So. Yeah, and stuff like that, you know. And I thought they were Star Warsing Batman with Batman Begins, you know, like, oh, this is the prequel to the other films that are out with Michael Keaton and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just where it is. It's what it is.
Batman and Robin after that.
And then after that, I was like, okay, what's the next on the next chain of command? And so I went up to Returns and all this. But anyway, enough with Batman. So I saw that, fell in love with that, and then after that, I didn't watch another one of his until The Dark Knight, and then I realized, oh, he has a broader thing. because at the time I was trying to watch all of Robin Williams' films, and among that list was Insomnia, and I saw Insomnia because Robin Williams is in it, but then I was like, oh, he's a villain, and he's a damn good one too. So I saw that. It was really interesting to see him interact with Al Pacino. You never think that those two would work in a movie, but it does. It really does. And then after that, The Dark Knight Rises came out, and I really enjoyed that. And insert Bane's voice meme here. And then after that was Interstellar, Inception, and then now we're here. Did I see Tenet? No, I did not see Tenet. Do I want to? It looks boring as shit, so I'm not gonna bother. So that's where I am with that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into this. Look, it is rather difficult to make biopics work this day, and I think one of the biggest compliments about this movie that I can give it is that at the end of the film, I didn't even feel like I was watching a biopic movie. And I think Nolan very cleverly was able to use his style to kind of break up the story, and especially in terms of how it was presented with its non-linear storytelling, with all these different things happening at the same time, with the past, the present, and of course the investigations happening that kind of ramp up toward the third hour of the movie. He was able to, craft the movie that was like super engaging, like from beginning to middle to end. Now, I know that I've heard from certain takes out there that they lose interest in the third hour. I don't know I don't even know why or who. I don't know them. But all I can say is it was damn impressive walking out of that and having just me literally be glued into everything of what was going on for 3 hours. If nothing else, this was able to do that in ways that I just didn't think were imaginable, even considering this particular subject matter. Because I think you could see different versions of this movie where other people would come in and they would just talk about the one thing about getting to the bomb, and then that'll be the end of the movie. Not even thinking about weaving in what comes in years after the fact, or even bringing in the character of the real life person, Louis Strauss, that was up for confirmation. He was played here by Robert Downey Jr., bringing that whole element and that whole personality into it. I feel like he made really brilliant choices to, I feel, overall enhance the storytelling and then also enhance what he was trying to say with the film. It has a stacked, deep bench of actors that you would never think would work this well together, and yet somehow do, and they all end up getting their individual moments as well. Clearly, far and away, the ones that you recall most are Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr., who I feel anyway are far and away very early contenders for nominations when it comes to the Academy Awards, because of not only with how prevalent they are in the story, but then also how memorable they both are. There is just this, especially when we get to the third hour, which I don't know, I kind of love the third hour, especially. There was an existential looming sense of terror, and the ending is just so deeply haunting. It literally goes down with what have we done? What have we done? And it is just, simply put, devastating in all the best ways. I honestly, it is hard. I think it kind of will be difficult for Nolan to ever top The Dark Knight, because it's The Dark Knight. But if there's one that may be up there in doing so, it may be this one. I was very, very impressed with this, and will definitely go back and watch it again, because, again, a lot of these elements in this film, like a courtroom kind of style involved in it, you wouldn't think he would be able to make as interesting as he did, and yet he did. And so I kind of really, really like this movie a lot. Alexis?
There was not a single moment in this 3-hour movie where I was bored, where I could look away, where I couldn't breathe. Like, it was so... Again, I am like super interested in this stuff, so there is a little bit of a bias there because I just find that interesting. So I can see people, being like, "Oh, it's too long." Oh, one of the things that David and my dad said at the end where, it was too fast. Like I couldn't keep up, and I'm like, "You guys, what do you mean?" No,
it wasn't a complaint. It was just kind of like, I'm just dumb. There's a lot of information going in, and so
there's a lot of
I couldn't keep
information.
up.
So I'll give him
No,
that.
he throws a lot at you,
Yeah.
and especially I would say, look, one of the main things that people have come away with saying, and this could be taken both as a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you are, but it is definitely a very talky movie, which I personally
I don't
ever
mind.
have any issue with at all. But also, the first hour is especially heavy with talks of physics, which...
But it doesn't, explain it to you. Like, that's the thing. It's literally just introducing all the players.
Yes.
It doesn't go into the science of it. And that was, another thing that we were hearing was, that a lot of people were, they didn't focus on the bomb. They didn't, focus on the, repercussion of the bomb, or they didn't focus on Japan, this and that. And it's okay, I understand. But this isn't a movie about the bomb. This is a movie about the man,
That's a pretty interesting criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to criticize that particular state of mind, but it seems to me that some of those people were maybe thinking that, well, this is a movie about a bomb. We want to see the bomb. We want to see the bomb thrown on people. And
it's funny also to me because I also am hearing this is a movie that we shouldn't be watching. We shouldn't be idolizing this man, which I personally don't think that that's what the movie was trying to do at all. I didn't get that at all. But it's also I don't think that we should be making a movie about the bomb and about Japan.
Right.
I don't think we get to do that. I think that that's more disrespectful than, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It would seem maybe just insult to injury that if you were to include the sequence of Hiroshima being blown to hell, it would literally just imagine if you're in Hiroshima today and you're watching that, and that would not sit well at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Hiroshima is, it is that's a whole different thing in and of itself. But that shouldn't be what people I think would be thinking to see in this movie, right? Because clearly, what's on this movie's mind is ultimately our own downfall, our own doom, and the part that we played in getting there. Clearly, the entire time the movie was trying to get you to think about, well, should this have been made in the first place, and should we have had such a prevalent hand in doing it? And also, I would just want to add on, there were some pretty clear sequences after the bomb. By the way, at this point going forward, if you haven't seen these movies, or at least Oppenheimer, there'll be spoilers, so just putting that out there. But there was clearly sequences, speeches that were given by Oppenheimer after the bomb test was successful, and then after they bombed Hiroshima. The way that those sequences, the way that those speeches are presented, if people were thinking that this film was trying to idolize what he did, they wouldn't have been presented the way that they were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That speech that he gave to rally the troops, basically, for what a good job they've done, and even there was even parts of the speech where too bad we didn't get to use the bomb on Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been played straight. it was not played that way at all.
The thing is that the movie went out of its way to show that this guy ain't a saint, and the way that he's portrayed is that he has flaws. He's a philanderer, he's a cheater, he's
a jerk.
He's kind of an ass, kind of thing. And they show that he's not this guy to be overly,
excited about.
Excited about and all that stuff. It just so happens that he created this, to quote John Hurt in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, is, he did terrible but great things kind of thing, and that's what he's painted like. He's not painted as like this, the savior of man. In fact, you find this man, towards the end of the movie, the last shot is just him contemplating, and he's just contemplating what future horrors we see in the future. There's a shot of him in the one of the last shots of the movie. He's looking at he's envisioning future weapons being used on humanity. There's a quick shot of modern warheads that is used, and just like the duality of using modern stuff to display somebody's legacy, I think, is profound. But not only that, but it's just a case in point that he's talking to Albert Einstein, and Einstein's just like, I don't want any fucking part of this. This isn't my shit. That's yours. I'm not touching this with the 10-foot pole. And like the thing is that of course he's anti fascists, when all that stuff. But you're talking about lives and all that stuff. There's a point in the movie where they're in discussion about this, about where to bomb, what city to bomb, and one of the I guess cabinet members was like, "Oh, we shouldn't bomb that. That's a nice place. I vacation there," and
I know it sounds like bad, but I got excited at that part because before we went to Japan, I found that out. And when they said that, I was like, I knew that.
Yeah. We were both like, hey, he put that.
You understood that reference?
Yeah.
I understood that reference, yeah.
Yeah. But it is actually, honestly, when we found that out, like before the trip and, watching this movie, like it is probably kind of insane that like they really didn't want to choose
Kyoto, right? Is that the city?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When we went there, and I mean that place is fucking beautiful. I could not imagine that just being gone.
Did I? I know, because we're just talking about this. Did I tell you guys what happened when we went?
Oh my god.
A little side story. So me, David, and then two of our friends went, and it was our first full day there, and we were on our way to Tokyo Disney, and we took the train because it like leaves you right in the front.
Right.
So we get in, and like me and my friend sit down, and then David and Sergio go and stand somewhere else. They were near us, but they weren't like super near us. And then this family comes and stands in front of us, and it's a mom, a dad, and then their kid. And they were asking me and Susan, like, hey, do you guys know if this is like the train to Disney? Blah, blah, blah. And we were like, we think so. I think we're in the right one. We're heading that way too. And then there was like a local there standing next to us hearing us, and she was like, yeah, this is the train. It'll leave you right in the front. And then she was asking us like, oh, where is everybody from? We said California. The family was from the Philippines. And she's like asking us like, when did you guys get here? Blah, blah, blah. What have you guys done? And that, like I said, that was our first full day there. We got there like midnight the night before, so we really hadn't done much. And the family had been there for a few days. And then the dad goes, "Oh yeah, and then we're gonna do this, this, and this, and then tomorrow we're gonna go to Hiroshima. You know, the bomb." And me and my friend literally just look at each other, and we had to turn away, and we were like, "Fuck."
We do not claim this individual.
Literally, we were like, "We are Mexican. We're from Mexico. Hola."
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
It was. I will never forget that moment. It was so insane, and like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. The world that we live in.
Yeah.
Just to give general thoughts here on Oppenheimer,
The movie.
I think that this movie is an incredible work of art, and from frame one, all the way to frame, I don't know how many frames it takes to get to the end of the movie. 5 million, yeah, exactly. Everything was so intricately done, so like intentionally done. It felt like no time was wasted at telling this story. I love the jumbledness of the timelines. When showing that present day, when discussing, especially like during his hearing and discussing the political motives of Robert Downey Jr. in the movie, it's black and white, representing that, hey, that, I don't know, kind of showcasing like his moral standpoint. Like it's either good or bad kind of thing, which I liked how they displayed that visually with his character, because you almost never see him in the colorized segments of the movie, but you almost exclusively see him in the black and white sequences, which is interesting. Just seeing that, it'll be interesting to see and I got this. Mike Stoklasa from Red Letter Media said this. It'd be interesting to see somebody cut this movie chronologically. And I'd be interested to see that again in chronological order. But what's it called? It's just a stunning way, and it obviously it takes a guy who writes his name in the credits as written and directed for the screen by Christopher Nolan in his end credits to come up with a movie like this. And honestly, he has a right to. He has a right to, credit himself in that way. Is it a little pretentious? Sure, but there we are. Cillian Murphy kills it, no pun intended, on how he portrayed Oppenheimer. And just like the way I think it has something to do with his eyes, because his eyes are so intense. And I think
I liked his voice, because his voice was it felt like you were watching an old movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a very unique voice for sure. I think it kind of draw me in.
Yeah, I feel like that way. It's almost like he's timeless. Like there's some actors that are timeless. I mean, that's why he was hired for Peaky Blinders and stuff like that, because of his timelessness kind of thing. But Cillian Murphy, yes. Robert Downey Jr. Oh my God! Like
kills it.
This is my bold statement, where I think that this is the best performance RDJ has given since Chaplin.
Have you guys ever seen, I think it's called Below Zero?
No.
Oh, you guys need to see that one. It's with him. It's so good. I think that's what it's called. Something with zero.
Yeah. That's what it's...
Less than zero. That's what it is.
Yeah, less than zero. Yeah. That's with Marissa Tomei, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard about that movie. I hear that's really good.
That's so good.
That's the movie that they used to reference his face for when they did the flashback sequence in Captain America Civil War. They took deposits of that movie, and that's what they used for it, the de-aging effects. But yeah, I mean, Robert Downey Jr., oh my God. There are times where, like, because he had, like, the way he speaks, there's, like, this Robert Downey Jr. cadence in the way he speaks that I'm just like, oh, that's Robert Downey. But you know, honestly, that's every single movie he's in because it's just his voice. So I dismiss that. But the way that he sat on his high horse trying so hard, desperately to take Oppenheimer down, I think it's one of those things where I think that it really portrayed like this kind of less saintly version of Jean Valjean and Javert kind of thing, like, I will take you down no matter what. And for the most
I was thinking of Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton, yeah. Well, Hamilton, yeah,
Well,
because of
there's a lot of both of those things, but I think even Nolan himself referenced that it was more Amadeus. If you've seen that movie, Amadeus, which is
movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a very good movie. No one talks about it all
that
often, but
movie. It's so good.
Very much. Robert Downey Jr. here is playing Cellier.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So that's literally what Nolan said. That's what he referenced that entire duality off of from that movie. So
interesting.
But yeah, so I really like that the effect, and I love how it's just continuous score all the way through the movie up until it's time to launch. You know, launch the test. And I love that it's completely silent. Like, you almost feel deafened. You almost feel like like you hear
yourself breathing along with them, like,
yeah. And you could hear a pin drop, and honestly, because it's just been continuous noise throughout the whole entire thing, without when they do drop the bomb in the testing sequence, your ears start to ring. Like,
on their own.
Like you have tinnitus or something like that, and it's amazingly done and atmospheric in that way that I feel like again, everything that was done in this movie is deliberate, and it is just intricately woven and all that stuff. And I honestly respect the craft that went into this movie, and like the fact that none of it was CG blows me away. And because there's there's none of it that's CG, I remember seeing a TikTok, and I don't know if you saw what's it called, Jennifer Lawrence's Hot Ones, from when she was promoting.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean? Yeah, I saw like the caption was when the FBI finds out Christopher Nolan used no CG, and, and she was doing that. It's just, I thought it was funny, but yeah, I mean, that explosive was real. You know, I mean, it might have been a miniature form and like quick cutaways to different things, but it, like, everything was genuine, and yeah, I respect the craft of this movie. They didn't film this movie with the computer either. They stitched and pasted stuff that they already filmed with IMAX and just scanned the deposits. That's the only digital that they used. But this movie was filmed with cut and paste, you know, like they did in the old days, you know, literally leaving things on the cutting room floor. And I honestly, like, I hate to sound like a pretentious old fuck like I am now that I'm approaching 30, but they sure don't make them like they used to. And this movie shows that, you know, they don't make them like they used to. And this is a prime example of that. And so Oppenheimer, I think it just like it's a perfectly well-crafted film. The ensemble cast, everybody but the kitchen sink. You know what? Fuck it. The kitchen sink too. You know, is in this movie as well. So yeah, that's my takeaway from this movie.
The whole time I was thinking when they were outside, waiting for that test to come through, is, why are you outside?
Exactly. But they don't know. They also don't know. Like, that's the crazy part too.
Why would you be outside for that shit?
Wild.
I wouldn't be anywhere near that. I'd be like watching it like back at the damn camp or Los Alamos or whatever, but just like No, why
Yeah.
are you out there?
Yeah.
Like, you were way too close, even there. Like, why would you even risk it,
I
you know?
Wild. And, like, I love... So, a few things of... Sorry, David, you go, because you haven't spoken. And then I'll speak.
I agree with all of you.
Okay.
I've been waiting for that
Go
this whole time. Okay, no,
Go ahead.
I do really agree with all of you. I mean, story-wise, I loved it. Not a single second was wasted between all of the characters and the story and just the plot moving around and everything, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, overall, for me, it really is just, like, the art form of it all that just blew me away. I mean, like I said, he does a great job with pacing with most of his movies. And this one, like, I always just noticed the editing, just cutting, like, between one character after another. There were times where I was like, okay, you're cutting way too much. Like, you have some amazing fucking actors here. Like, stay on them, you know? Like, especially in some moments with Killian and the wife.
Matt Damon?
No.
Oh, Emily
Yeah,
Blunt.
Emily Blunt, where it was just going way too much back and forth between the two, where I was kind of like, no, you can stay on the camera with one of them while the other one is talking, like, just see their reactions. Especially there was this one moment with Robert Downey Jr. Where they were on the big table. Like, I don't know, I really cannot pinpoint you exactly where, but there was just a moment though where he
The
just kind of
fucking
like turned his
plant
head.
that they had to keep moving. That was
I was
fucking
laughing
funny.
so hard.
Yeah.
Like, just remove that shit. They kept moving it, like, left and right until finally somebody took it off the fucking table. So you should have done that in the first place. Why do you even have that there in a round table?
Yeah, and the biggest moment where I was like, I really wish you would have stayed on them. It was when fucking Cillian Murphy was like naked when he was being interrogated, and then fucking Florence Pugh shows up. I was like, you did not like him being naked is already good enough to like show what you want to do in this moment. And if you just stayed at Emily Blunt, like, she already looked pissed off at, like, hearing that story and everything. Like, you know what she's thinking in that moment. You did not need to add Florence Pugh into the fucking scene.
Can I just say, I freaking loved Emily Blunt in this movie.
Ooh, she
Oh
is.
my god. She was such an interesting character. And that scene where she's defending him, oh my god. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. And
Because, at that point, it had been, like, a long list of witnesses that were just kind of, like, taking the punches, and she was, like, throwing them back at them, which was so satisfying to see, because that never really happens.
and then just those moments, though, where he was, like, basically killing Murphy's character, or Oppenheimer, he was just, I don't know, I guess seeing atoms in his head or something, and seeing just basically, like, the fabrics of the
Chemical
universe.
reactions.
Chemical
basically.
reactions and all that. I would love to. I want to see the behind the scenes of that, of like how he made those swirling lights and all that, and just
I think
what the fuck did you do?
this is just my speculation of how like they did that. I think that they just did a bunch of like light tricks while filming filming it in a fish tank.
I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of moments where he just did either like some kind of micro photography or just his giant ass lens, zoom lens, and all that. But I think there were a couple of shots where those lights were in the same frame as Cillian Murphy and all that. I could be remembering wrong. Maybe that's just part of like the quick cuts of it all. I'm just thinking that they're in the same frame and all that.
Because I know that sometimes they super splice and superimpose during post, and I think that might have happened. You know, especially like melding a film composite with another. I think that's what happened. I don't think that. I think that's what happened. I'm not sure, but.
Also, the fact that he was actually using lights and not just fucking CG the lights in the fucking movie. Oh my god, that one scene where it was, it was still like the interrogation, and it just got super fucking bright in the room. I think it was like after the bombing where he was trying to tell him, like, did you feel bad afterwards or something like that? I can't remember. But yeah, just like those moments like that where I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, you're using something with purpose here. Thank you.
And I also really appreciated it. I didn't even see the thematic point to it, but you're right. Most of the black and white stuff happens with RDJ, and that's for a particular reason now that I do think more about it. But even just from an aesthetic choice, what I really appreciated was it also communicated the difference in time the black and white definitely helped to communicate that in comparison to what was happening in the past. That it also, just as a pure aesthetic standpoint, it was just really cool to see like large extended sequences in black and white on the big screen, because I happen to really dig the look of black and white. And it looked absolutely stunning on screen.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, though, it was black and white with a purpose, unlike fucking blonde.
Or unlike Wes Anderson sometimes, when he just
oh my gosh, you mentioned
throws
that too.
whatever he wants.
That was dumb. And then the sound design, I love those moments though, where it's just like, there was one moment though where you like hear these stompings of the feet of the foot. That where it was used beforehand, and you kind of don't know like where that's coming from, but then it was used later on when he gives that big speech after.
I like that he uses the future scenes or even the past scenes to create some kind of like anxiety driven like effect.
Yeah.
Amazing.
My favorite one, it was when the army dudes take away the 2 bombs, and the chains within the box, they're like rattling in the box, and you hear that way after they're gone. Meaning like Oppenheimer, like he can still hear them. He's still like worried that they're gonna go off or something, like, but it's just kind of like that noise that's just always gonna stay with him of like something's gonna happen now after this. Like they're gone, you know. And
they're not his anymore. They're they're kind of like on their own now.
Yeah.
I would also just think that as far as like what happens in continuity, which evidently was also something that happened in real life, was just something as just shocking to hear the President of the United States, Harry Truman, just to Oppenheimer's face, just say, "You didn't do that, I did," gladly having the blood on his hands for all those thousands of people that died in Hiroshima. And I just like, hey, I get American exceptionalism and hoorah and all that, but all of us know that it gets to a point where it gets a bit fashy. And I mean, there are a lot of arguments as to like why the bomb was created and why it was used, but it's another thing altogether when you just gloat like that for the deaths of thousands of people and just be happy that you would do it 10 times over again. There's also a lot of reasonable questions. Why was it used in the first place, and why was it used twice? The whole thing in general was started because they knew that the Nazi scientists were at the same time exploring that, but it got to a point when they were out of the picture. They're done. Hitler was dead and they were falling apart. Yes, Kyle.
Also, the idea that, how about we give this land that we took to the Native Americans. I was just like,
it was so insulting to the military. Like, how dare you suggest we give this back to the Native Americans?
Wild.
And it was like, what was this land before? It was a Native American burial ground.
That's the thing too. It's like, oh yeah, they built it on a Native American burial ground. Did they not watch Poltergeist?
No, but
they're here.
I love the fact that Oppenheimer was kind of like
the TV people.
Oppenheimer, like when they tell him like, "What do you want to do with the town?" He's like, "Just give it back to them." But they're just kind of like, "What? What do you mean? No? What?
No."
Yeah. But he's just like genuinely confused. Like, what do you mean no?
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's so. Also, I want to go back to what's it called? Robert Downey Jr. Or more specifically, I guess, there's so many like lines in the movie. That line at the end with Robert Downey Jr. when the guy says maybe they weren't talking about you. Maybe they were talking about something more important.
Yeah.
Which they were.
I mean, that's just it plays to the narcissist that he was the whole time. Like, he thought it was like some kind of grand conspiracy to take him down. But really, he was irrelevant to them the entire time. Like, there were more important things to discuss. And then when we go and see that discussion,
Yeah.
And then the movie ends with that, and you have that lingering sense of dread.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, Oppenheimer, he didn't think about Robert Downey Jr.'s character
At
once.
all.
Like, literally, his wife had to be like, "It's him. He's the one fucking with
Also,
you."
I was a little confused why he was mad.
Oh, because he got humiliated in public. There was a public hearing where it wasn't those scenes where they were at a different public hearing for a different matter, and he was criticizing him in front of his face. He was behind him about his idea of like shipping out isotopes.
Okay.
And everybody laughed in the room except for him. Like, again, think of Amadeus. It would be something as petty as that. So it definitely rings true. But I think the message has been made clear here. What a winner of a movie.
Yes.
And definitely one we're going to be talking about for the rest of the year. Any other thoughts before we move on to Barbie?
Another thought I have about Oppenheimer is that there's this particular shot that blew me away, and it had nothing to do with like the bomb or anything like that, or the usage of black and white. I love that moment where Emily Blunt and Cillian Murphy kiss for the first time, and then the tracking shot the camera backs up and just you see the wide landscape of wherever they are, the mountainous range. And honestly, like that harkens back to like something like Gone with the Wind, in terms of like classic cinematography. And I was like, you could put that with any film that came out in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and put that in the mishmash, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, I'm gonna say right now, I think this movie easily gets 10 nominations at the Oscars. Let's put it out there right now. It easily is gonna get 10 nominations, and I think Nolan is in the hunt to win. First time ever for Best Director, and I think that would be well deserved.
I think so too.
If that is in case.
For this one.
So
And then
for this
I
one,
also really liked the beginning of the movie where it does go into all the sciencey stuff, but I mainly like all of the name drops of like the scientists and stuff, and like
Heisenberg.
Like all of them. It's just so interesting that like these people were together at this particular moment in time that made such a huge difference in history. It's just wild.
Yeah. It's also wild to think about the Nazis were also working on one of these bombs too, and in an alternate reality, they may have beaten us to it.
Crazy.
That is very crazy. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and here we are. And let's go ahead and move on to the next big thing that happened this week, which was Barbie, the third film by Greta Gerwig. The screenplay written by her and husband Noah Baumbach. Of course, Noah Baumbach, we all know, that wrote and directed Marriage Story. She's everything, he's just Ken. Barbie and Ken are having the time of their lives in the colorful and seemingly perfect world of Barbie Land. However, when they get a chance to go to the real world, they soon discover the joys and perils of living among humans.
I'm sorry, but when you said Marriage Story, I automatically thought of the fight scene, and when she was like, "You are such a dick." Every day I wish you were dead.
So a lot of talent obviously involved. Of course, Greta Gerwig before this directed Lady Bird and Little Women, of which I love both of those movies. And I feel like this movie, Barbie, for how different and maybe more commercial it may seem to people, it very much remains in line with the coda of those two movies. And literally what Greta Gerwig, Greta is all about. I tried to say Gerwig, and then it went and then it went off to a different direction. Anyway, we saw this second. I feel that was the way to do it. Start off with the more depressing movie first, and then go off with the more fun movie second of all.
Still kind of depressing. At least for me.
I guess depends on your gender, right? That's kind of what the movie is saying. I feel like we're all going to be in agreement in terms of writing, in terms of direction, in terms of acting, in terms of production design. This was a home run, and just that technical craft out of the way with it, to me anyway, is that special movie that I'm just simply left astonished that it even exists in the first place, because this very much, and maybe a lot of people felt that the marketing played to this, and maybe just the idea of a Barbie movie plays to this, that, oh, Mattel wants to make more money and revive Barbie. There are a million different ways this could have been far more inferior, far more lackluster, far more irrelevant, and yet what you had here was WB taking a chance on an auteur, getting to put her stamp on this, making this whole universe around her, and really using it to send out a really special message. Honestly, this was pretty incredible. I want to see it again to see like how I feel about all of its parts. I know that there have been again, others that have said that there are parts toward the middle of the film that just kind of like sag or stop. I don't know if I ever felt a sense of loss in momentum. Like, I was with the movie from the very beginning to the very end of it. But I do want to see it again to really kind of hone in how strongly I feel about it. But I just loved it because it was just so unique and unlike anything else that I think you will see in the movies this year. I would say it's needless to say how perfect Robbie and Gosling are, and also how incredible a lot of the actors that were in this movie were. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I thought this was also simply beautiful as well. It was, maybe in retrospect, it shouldn't have been that surprising, but it was, in a sense, touching and sweet, and also kind of emotional toward the end. And I know that for some people that maybe has not gone over as well, as far as perhaps the tonal clashes, because of how silly some may think that it starts off with. But somehow, at least for me, it landed in a way where I ultimately was won over by what this was and what it was trying to say. Yeah, Alexis. No pressure. You're the only female here, so.
I am. I really like this movie. I do have one complaint. But I think, like, overall, it kind of explains a lot of things that I think we as women feel. Maybe not all, and maybe not everybody. But I think for the most part, it tries its best to kind of be as, like, I guess, like, open? I don't know what the word is. Like, to kind of get everybody's general feelings about things, females' feelings about things out there, you know, and kind of try to explain it as simple as possible, while also showing things that are kind of reality to both men and women, in such, like, a unique way. The way that this movie looks is so cool, and I think that there was some jokes that were a bit cringy, but I think it still works with how the movie is. I think that the casting was so good. My one complaint was the Will Ferrell stuff. I didn't like it. And I kind of was like, okay, let's move on from this. And then in the end, I feel like it didn't really amount to anything, at least
His
for me.
involvement in those particular, that whole element was not ultimately needed in your view. I would just say one of the things that I was very glad about this movie is that we didn't spend a lot of time in the real world. I was kind of afraid that we would leave Barbie Land behind and we wouldn't get back into the very end of it. And I guess for some that may be considered a spoiler, but I don't know, sue me. That's one thing that I was very grateful for, that the majority of the film does take place in Barbie Land.
But I really like this movie overall. I think it's great, and I want to see it again.
David.
This is the worst movie of this year. I believe this movie is a war. It's a call to war against men, and
I agree.
And the way they make fun of horses here is despicable. Okay, no, I'm kidding. Obviously, no, I really loved it. I think it was really funny. There were some cringe moments, but like, to me, cringe in good way. Like, oh, you know what you're doing. It's funny. I love it. But overall, though, I just really loved Margot Robbie's Barbie story. Just the way she sort of was seeing the world, but also almost trying to see like the good in it too. Like, I think I really love those moments. And yeah, and fucking Ryan Gosling, he fucking killed it. I want to see him in more comedies. Like,
yeah. Has everyone here? I'm gonna assume no. Have any of you seen his comedic performance with Russell Crowe in The Nice Guys?
I was about to mention
yes. Oh my god, great movie.
Yeah, that it is a great movie, and you haven't seen it right now. And I mean, for anybody who is listening, it's currently streaming on Netflix, so you don't have to pay unless you have a Netflix subscription, which most people do. Go and see it, because if you want to see more comedic Ryan Gosling, you can tell that he's had this in him like forever. It just so happens that a lot of the roles that he takes are very much into this very stoic character. But honestly,
he's a great actor.
Yeah. He's a great actor. He always has. Maybe he should. He should lean more into this stuff, because this in and of itself is so good that so many of the pundits that I follow are genuinely putting him in the conversation for a supporting actor nomination as well, because he is just that good. He's just that good in this movie.
Yes.
I feel like every moment, everything he does.
Oh my god!
Fuck off! Whoever doubted him. Seriously, like, and where are they now?
Exactly.
Honestly, where are they now? No one is saying anything. Like, honestly, the most positive thing I feel coming out of the movie is how great Ryan Gosling was. Like, and he sings in this too, and he dances in this too. Like, that musical dance number.
Amazing.
Boy,
amazing. I ate it up. Amazing.
This movie is interesting, really interesting, in a lot of ways, because, like David said, it questions the patriarchy, and honestly, we are pro-patriarchal institutions, so this movie will not fare well in us. And also, I feel like there was a lack of horses in this movie, as the ultimate symbol of the patriarchy and all that stuff. No, I'm kidding. I think this movie is terrific. This movie is fantastically made. I've never seen that much pink before in the house and on the screen in my life. I walked in and I might as well have been at a Victoria's Secret. But honestly, like, this movie is probably something that's really needed. The thing that a lot of people are having like mixed feelings about the message about the movie, which is fine, because it does kind of like cram it in as much as possible in this movie. But also there are some like positive perceptions. Like, I have a cousin that absolutely bawled when the montage when the montage happened of what it's like to be a woman. So that happened.
There are people who were crying, I think, in the theater.
Yeah, and there was.
Alexis is pointing at herself, by the way. For those we're not, so if you didn't see it because there's no video, but Alexis was just pointing at herself as one of the ones that was like crying in that moment. Go ahead.
And yeah, so the thing is that the monologue that America Ferrera has in the movie, telling like how hard it is to be a woman, and rightfully so. There were people clapping after that monologue, you know, because it is hard to be a woman, you know. I can't
By the way,
say
Rose,
that.
how good was she in this movie? How good
She
was
was
America
amazing.
Ferrera? I mean, seriously, good for her as well.
Yeah, she was great. The thing that you know, I'm not a woman, you know, and I'm not going to pretend that
You don't say.
that I'm not. I know, right? But
I mean, I shouldn't assume your gender, but thank you for clarifying.
yeah, but I'm not a woman. Nor do I identify as one. But I understand the struggle, and I sympathize with and empathize with the struggle of what women go through on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they can't even go outside, you know, without being harassed. And
That moment of when she goes, I feel fear and I don't know why. Literally me every day.
Exactly, you know, and it's just it's one of those things. However, I do have a bone to pick with this movie. One bone in particular to I've never felt so like personally attacked before. That I like early 2000s rock and like 90s rock and all that stuff, and I've never felt more personally attacked by selecting my genre of music as like the ultimate dude bro anthem with Push by Matchbox 20. I do not appreciate this slander of all songs to use.
Would you have preferred if they've gone with Metallica?
Are you kidding? Metallica is pro-feminism. They would have been all over that shit.
There were a lot of really great dude stereotype jokes, very much at their expense, that were great. That was one among them. And of course, having all the Kens sing that and them being so obsessed with it as them being distracted by it was hilarious. Even the shots they took at the Zack Snyder cut, or even The Godfather too, was hilarious.
The Godfather, of course, those are so funny.
That one, because every guy loves The Godfather. Every father loves The Godfather. It's like, and all they want to do is talk about that movie and how great it is with whoever's around them. So yeah, there was some great topical stuff that hit really hard here for sure. Yeah, I feel like, if anything, yes, it does beat you over the head with its message, but I want to say that isn't inherently something that should be considered a flaw, especially in the times that we live in. I feel like, especially now, it definitely is a message that is relevant, considering the rights that have been rolled back for women this last 2 years, for sure. But in addition, something else to, also compliment the film for, it should not be overlooked how the film has been received. So it received an A cinema score, which is outstanding, because walking away from the film, I really was not thinking it was going to be that clear of a consensus. I was walking out thinking, oh, there's going to be a big backlash for sure. I mean, just because we have movies that are just led by females, that by that nature creates a backlash for some people. But considering how over the head the message was, I was thinking it might do that as well. And that cinema score really does kind of confirm how universal the film actually is. And that is just kind of also not only a little bit special, extra special, but it also happens to be kind of a bit strange considering how toxic and volatile audiences have become lately, where they're just repelled by these kind of messages.
I think the reason why is because it had a universal theme. And the universal theme is, especially with women, it's like the thesis of this piece is what it's like to be a woman. And the thing about that is that you have that universal theme, and I think that every woman can relate to this. And so I think that that's what, instead of giving, like for example, like what they did with, unfortunately what they did with like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, kind of make her stoic and don't give her any like regency or personality. This movie had a lot of personality, especially with Margot Robbie's Barbie questioning humanity, questioning existence, questioning her status as a woman, and I think that that's a universal theme that really touches a lot of people's hearts, in terms of where that is. I think that just for a little bit, because I gotta go in a few moments, but I just
go ahead.
But I think that this movie, the theme of it was really, really outspoken. I wasn't expecting this kind of movie, to be honest. I was expecting a silly slapstick movie with a few, like maybe a message here and there, but not to be like the overarching like part.
You were thinking more of a full-blown comedy.
I was thinking of a full-blown comedy. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be a full-on feminist piece, which I stand by. I stand by that, and I appreciate that it was trying to say something versus be something hollow and something like that. And I appreciate that they did that. Ryan Gosling, oh my God. If I didn't think that Robert Downey had the best shot of getting the supporting actor, I would say Ryan has it as well in the bag. His music number, I Am Ken, oh my God, one of the best music numbers I've seen in a musical since West Side Story. But yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible movie. I want to watch it again. I want to see both these movies, Oppenheimer and Barbie, back to back. So I think there's definitely rewatchability in it. It definitely lends itself to being something bigger, and I think we're seeing both of these movies as classics somewhere down the line,
or maybe already.
Oh, already, yeah.
Honestly, the impression that they've made on the industry, I mean, that's why it's like, even though we're far away from the Academy, they've made such a big splash. Everybody knows about these movies.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to see these movies. So I suspect they're going to have the longevity to go all the way to where we are at the Oscars next year. It's
a pop culture phenomenon, both of these.
Yes.
So, yeah. And honestly, I love these movies both for different reasons. But yeah. A side note on what you said about the Will Ferrell situation. I think that his purpose in the movie was just to show that even the figures that controls Barbie's destiny is nothing but men in suits. And I think that that's what the point that they were going for is that.
I mean, yeah, like I understood that. I just didn't enjoy it. But I'm also like not the biggest Will Ferrell fan, so like that there.
I really enjoy Will Ferrell, and I like his I'll be a glorified cameo in this movie. But yeah, I really like this. Margot Robbie, oh my God, what the hell? Like this woman can do no wrong. Yeah, exactly. And I really like her in this movie. I mean, this is really good. Don't like that Kate McKinnon was the butt of all jokes. And just to be quickly wrapped at the end. As like, oh, sorry, and that's it. All is forgiven. Because I guess like the inclusiveness of all women needs to be demonstrated here in its full glory. But I really enjoyed this movie. Barbie is, come on, Barbie, let's go party. Yeah, Barbie, fantastic. Go watch it, y'all.
All right, thank you, Kyle, for joining us.
No problem.
We'll see you next time. Now, there's a lot of smaller roles in the movie. Was there anyone that stuck out to you beside Robbie and Gosling, David? One that you liked per se? I mean, for me, it would be Rhea Perlman. She played Ruth Handler. Mm-hmm. We see her in a couple, like one or two scenes, but I thought that she brought a sense of warmth to the character, and also something of a guide for Barbie as well. Mm-hmm. How about you?
I loved.
Oh, David. David first, and then Alexis.
Mm-hmm. The men first, Ale. I'm kidding.
Oh, well, it's because I'm going in the order of like who was speaking up first. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Oh, shit.
No, dude, I was joking. Come on. No.
The men are first. Oh.
Okay. Okay. That's probably like the meanest joke honestly I've ever made. I don't know, but you mentioned the Ruth character. No, yeah, she was definitely a standout. I kind of liked right away. She almost seemed like some like wise wizard, because like Margot Robbie walks in and she knew right away, like, oh, you're a Barbie. Yeah, I know who you are, and all that. And she literally just like shows up out of nowhere too. It's like, where the hell were you when all the Suits guys were fucking going around and shit? I just found it funny. But no, I mean, I don't know what else was really a standout. I mean, I was just mostly focused on Margot Robbie and Ken. I loved...
people really love... Oh, go ahead.
I really liked Ken's progression to the villain. Like, I just found it so funny. It actually kind of, like, makes sense. It's like, of course, this guy who, like...
It made so much sense, but also, David, I was kind of, like, struck as well. Like, oh, shit. I didn't think they were going to go in this direction at all. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that happening at all. And then when it, like, the whole thing of Ken, Ryan Gosling's Ken, coming to the real world, being corrupted by the patriarchy or the whole or at least his cockamamie idea of what it would be, and then introducing it into the Barbie land, I didn't see that whole storyline coming at all. He was kind of the bad guy for the movie, and I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. Wasn't like... That did caught me by surprise. Yes, go ahead.
But yeah, no, I mean, everyone else was just kind of funny. I guess John Cena mermaid was fucking hilarious.
That was so funny. Everybody liked Michael Cera.
Oh my god, yeah, Michael Cera.
Alan.
He was, yeah, for sure, probably one of the best ones. He just comes out of nowhere, and he was in this, and I saw him in the Black Mirror new season. It was very small, but it's kind of like, dude, where have you been? Like, you were hilarious. Yeah. Like, come back. And so, yeah, I think for sure, Michael Cera, fucking Alan, he was probably just standout.
Some of my favorite moments with the characters that I mentioned, so with Ruth, just the whole idea. I love when she was explaining to Barbie about like how she named Barbie and Ken after her children. And then saying that line, like, what, us mothers stand tall or stand still so our daughters can see how far they've come. Mm-hmm. That was such a beautiful line. And I think also one of the most just human moments in the film was when Barbie is sitting on the bench in the real world, and then she encounters the old woman on the bus stop next to her, and they just have this warm exchange, just a complete stranger. And how Robbie says to her, "You're beautiful."
You know who that is, right?
Yes. She is I don't know her by name.
Her name is Barbara.
But
That's the daughter. That's Ruth's daughter in real life.
Are you sure that is? I think people are getting that mixed up. I don't think that was Barbara.
People were saying that was a costume designer.
No, okay, so
That's what I heard.
let me clear that up. 'Cause I know that people had that idea going around, that it was Barbara, but no, the beautiful old lady is portrayed by Anne Roth. So Anne Roth is a 2-time Oscar award-winning costume designer who also worked on the costume design for this movie.
Okay.
So, but you what you were saying, Alexis, was, and that was also going around too, that it was actually Barbara. No. Yeah, but it's still somebody special.
I mean, yes.
She 2-time Academy Award winner for costume design, and she's also 91 years old. So good for her. But no, I did see that going around. Just to be clear about that. But that would have been cool if it was actually Barbara. Is she still living?
I don't know. I thought she was 2 seconds ago.
Anyway, Alexis, you were saying about some of the some standouts in the movie or moments.
I think it's funny that you guys didn't think that Ken was gonna be the villain.
It does say something about us, doesn't it?
It really does.
What, men are the bad guys in the film? What? Let us all clutch our pearls and be like, faint, all this bullshit, like how anti-men it is. Which, by the way, not to cut you off again, or to mansplain you again, sorry. But can we just say how incredibly amazing it is, the success of the film, its big box office, and its A cinema score. And it pretty much dismantles this whole BS notion of go woke, go broke.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you people? Where have you been?
And with damn, I was gonna say Oppenheimer, Oppenheimer.
What, Oppenheimer?
With Oppenheimer, being so
Fucking
political.
Right, like both of those films, very political, very in your face, very much messaging. Like you can't get more woke than Barbie in moments. Yeah. And guess what happened? It made so much money. And
you could also, like, it's so, I want to know what their argument is going to be when they're like, oh, Oppenheimer is great, blah, blah, blah. And Barbie is so political. It gets in your face, this and that. Okay. It's also so funny that, like, what the movie is trying to show is what is probably happening with some of these guys.
No, yeah, for sure. David?
I've only seen one review of someone talking about Oppenheimer. And, I mean, all they're saying is just, like, it's not picking a side. Like, it's not picking a political side of, like, communism.
What?
I mean, it's
wait, what?
Like, that's kind of, like, the biggest compliment. I'm still, like, very in the beginning of the video. I still need to see a lot more. But, like, yeah, that's kind of, like, just the biggest thing. And just kind of, like, and they're going, like, oh, I'm glad they didn't portray him, Oppenheimer, as, like, a saint or something like that. And it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, I don't really understand why you think so. But sure. But, oh my gosh. No, but, I mean, I'll let get to her thoughts of, like, what she liked. And then we'll talk about the bullshit arguments people are making about Barbie.
So she was saying that it was funny that us men were surprised that the guy would be the bad guy in the movie. That's what she was laughing at, because apparently you saw it coming a mile away.
I mean, as soon as they get to the real world and that line that Barbie says, "I feel fear," and then Ken's like, "Really?"
What do you mean?
Yeah, like, so. Like, he doesn't see anything. He doesn't, it just goes over his head. And, I mean, I feel like what Kyle was saying, where he didn't think, like, he wasn't expecting what this movie was in the end. I kind of knew because, I mean, I played with Barbie. I know a little bit of the history with Barbie. When Ruth came out and they said her name, I started crying because I was like, oh my god, that's her. Like I literally had like my mouth open, and my parents were like, "What?" And I'm like, "That's her. That's who created Barbie." But I think what I really like about the movie is that, yes, it, in a way, like, it does beat you over the head with what it's trying to say, but at the same time, it's showing you. And one of the big things that I took away from the movie, aside from like the ending and like all that stuff, which I think is like beautiful, one of like the big things that I'm like, this is what it is. Like, this is, at least in my experience, like, this is what I feel. The fact that Barbie was the one to apologize to Ken in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And is the one that took all of the responsibility. And Ken just cried. Which is good. Like, it's also good to show that, you know, that men, you know, it's okay for them to show emotion, and it's okay for them to be okay with not being in charge, with not, you know. But like that moment, I was like, yes, like this is what it is. Because in the end, like, yes, it's showing us, or it's telling us, like, this is what women go through, blah blah blah. But that moment shows you, and the fact that it went over everybody's heads, you know, and you see it as something so normal.
Yeah, it's so sad, but it's so true. But I would also, if I could spin it in a more positive context, even though it is spinning, but what you were saying is definitely true and powerful, and I think definitely what is the reality of what women particularly go through. I would also just say, saying this as a man, that moment perfectly, eloquently as well, illustrates why women are just better. Why they're the better human beings. And not to pigeonhole them as always having to take responsibility for other people's shit and be the ones to apologize, but it does say something about them that they're always willing to be
to compromise.
The bigger man, basically. The bigger man. They're the actual real men. When it comes to this context, because God forbid a guy ever apologizes for his inexcusable behavior. I mean, what the Kens basically did here was pretty horrific. I mean, it was like overthrowing society, basically, and putting them as second-class citizens. It was pretty damn awful, and yeah, we couldn't even get a damn apology because of that. Like, that is pretty bad, but then also just, I didn't even fully grasp the gravity of that moment until you just put it yourself in words right now, Alexis, but it is true. Yeah, that is the position that women are put through, is having to take responsibility and clean up the mess of whatever some guy did.
And you know what really proves it? What you just said about how like women can be the bigger man and all that is because dudes on the internet get pissed off that, like, at the end, Kens don't get, like, the same amount of power as the Barbies do. And, oh my god. And just, like, you know, they see that whole thing, and they go, wait, why don't they have the same amount of power as the Barbies do? I thought they're supposed to be about equality and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, the Kens, like, enslaved the Barbies. Like, they literally just made them do whatever they say and get them beers, and that's it. And they were literally going to make it a law that this was going to be permanent. Okay? Like, the Barbies didn't do any of that shit. I don't know if
they let them off easy.
Yeah, they let them off easy, basically. But, like, you know, while the Barbies were running around, like, being the bosses everywhere in the beginning, the Kens were still the Kens. Like, you know, there was Simu Liu's character.
Nothing got taken away.
Yeah,
nothing changed for them. Mm-hmm. In fact, it was more positive because they were able to communicate better. Mm-hmm. They were able to be their own person.
Yeah. And they see that, and they're still mad that, like, they don't hold power still. And I'm like, what the fuck, you guys? And these are I pointed this out to Ale. These are the same guys that complained about WandaVision, when Wanda got off free for what she did to that town. When, by the way, what she did was an accident. Okay, like, I'm not saying that she should have gotten away with it, but like, it was still an accident. And she like let everyone go, and she just left, tried like isolate herself. Doctor Strange 2 kind of ruined it, but you know what I mean. She was gonna isolate herself, try to figure out her own shit. Okay, but the fucking Kens literally enslaved the Barbies, and you think it's okay? Like, they should just be forgiven? Like, are you fucking kidding me? And I mean, let's just go off on all the bullshit arguments. First of all, when Barbie goes into the real world and like gets her ass slapped, dudes on the internet are like, that would never happen today. And it's like, first of all, do you not go out? Like, that kind of stuff. Like,
I literally just saw
some of those people. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just saw a video that's been like going around Twitter and TikTok and everything of a guy like it's a girl and she's recording herself dancing at a club, and like the guy clearly
You saw that video too? Oh my god, I saw that video too.
Like, what do you mean this doesn't happen?
She's minding her. Did you hear about the context of that video? That guy had been like chasing her the whole time. It wasn't even the first time.
You didn't even have to tell me that. I already knew.
Mm-hmm.
So like at first she didn't even see that he tried putting something in her drink. She was just pissed off that he spilled her drink. Because she explains it in a video afterward. But he literally tried putting something in her drink, and then as soon as he fumbled, he tried to dance off.
Like, he kept dancing next to her, and she literally couldn't move. She was just like in complete shock of like what she had just witnessed, and he was just dancing like nothing had happened, like everything was chill. What do you mean this doesn't happen? Oh my god.
Yeah.
If anybody's saying that, then they've done it themselves, and they don't want to have that out there. I mean, how often does this happen when the very people who say, "Oh, that doesn't happen," they do it themselves?
That's.
Can you believe having that, being so stupid to think that doesn't happen to women?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you don't care about women if you think that. Like. I'm not saying like you don't understand women, but like you literally don't care, and that's like the point of that beginning part when they first make it to the real world, where Barbie is like, I'm scared, but I don't know why. Like, I feel like I should be aware of my surroundings, but I just don't know what to focus on exactly. And then the Ken is just again, it's just like, look at this world. This is nice, and it's like, but that's the actual truth. Like, even for me, when we went to Japan, Ale and our friends, they were like, I felt really safe there, like I never like, felt like I was in danger. But for me, my dad kind of like just instilled it in me to like always be aware of myself, of my surroundings, because like, who knows what's going to pop up. And I wasn't like, it's not like I was uncomfortable in Japan.
My dad's just a very paranoid person, and he thinks that
anything
anything is going to kill us, which is, could be true. And it probably is.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, he
goes a
grew
little
up
bit
in a not
overboard
so
sometimes.
safe neighborhood. I mean, it's just kind of ingrained in him. But even like with me and my awareness, I will still not have the same awareness as women have to be if they're walking around. Like, I would never have to worry about someone fucking drugging my drink at a club. It's like, we are not in. We're in a different plane.
Go out, I like chug my drink because I don't want to leave it out. When I go, I used to live in San Diego, and I used to park on the street. I used to walk with my keys in my hand sticking out. Like, I've done all the things because it's true. Like, it just, unfortunately, it is the way that it is.
Yeah, it's incidents like those that really bring a lot of credence to the idea that men just inherently suck. And if I could just respond, David, to what you were saying about some people, complaining about the end of the film, about why is it that men don't have equal rights as women in Barbie Land at the end of the movie. It's interesting to me that those people seemingly are not at all aware or don't seem to care that the real world that we live in is not structured that way either. In fact, it's the men that have all the security. It's the men that have all the power and all the rights. And it's the women who are losing their rights year by year. A lot of those same people probably that were, having this bitch fit over the end of a movie couldn't be bothered with the idea that women were basically declared second-class citizens by the Supreme Court last year when they outlawed abortion, when they took away autonomy over their own bodies. You bring that up to them and they'd be like, crickets. I also want to read this tweet. If it's still called that. About, those kind of complaints. This comes from Silly Isabella. I believe that's her Twitter handle. Again, if it's still called that. Barbie is actually a good example of a society men want versus what women want. Men's idea of an ideal society is domination and subjugation of women. And women's ideal Barbie world, men just don't matter. And women have no interest in dominating them. They're just there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fucking difference. Mm-hmm. And we saw what happened in the movie. Yeah, the Kens weren't in charge, but they were fine. They were fine. They weren't being enslaved. They weren't being subjugated. Whereas when the Kens took over, they literally kicked Barbie. They displaced the Barbies out of their homes. Mm-hmm. And they were going to change the Constitution.
Yeah. Also, my favorite complaint that they had, oh my gosh, it was in the beginning of the movie where the little girls were smashing the baby dolls. And they're just like, wow, if you needed just a picture perfect moment of how women see motherhood today, there you go. Basically just complaining how like women see motherhood like as a kind of like a bad thing, or just kind of like that sets them back.
Who's saying this?
Dudes, the
guys that are not at all involved with the raising of a child as much as the mother. Like, again, these people have so much to say about a group of people that they fundamentally do not understand on any basic level. And this is the part that's really disgusting, is that they feel, and this is, again, also speaks to how men are. They feel like they have the right to opine or comment, or they feel like they have a say in what women do with their lives, as if that was just what is expected of them. When they...
Mm-hmm. But also...
Like, really?
Yeah, also, I want to mention the end of the movie, America Ferrera's character literally said, it is okay to just be a mom. Like, she says that. So it's not like the beginning was, like, saying, like, oh, fuck being motherhood, like, fuck being a mom, or fuck motherhood.
I feel like a deranged person would only think that's what it was saying. Like, what kind of person looks at that and thinks that that's what was trying to be communicated?
Well, from the video that I saw, this is the same guy that said that Hollywood wants to make you gay.
Well, that definitely speaks to how much of an ignorant mind he has. People would be gay regardless if there was a Hollywood or not.
Yeah.
Also, the idea that how somehow that was framed in a very bad way. Okay, like, again, like several ways. It's just like these people just repeatedly tell on themselves. Just idiotic points of view that are so easily demolished if you think about it for more than just a couple of seconds. And again, they just tell on themselves where their minds are at with what they think they say and what they think, I don't know, that they're actually communicating something of a righteous message. It's everything. I shouldn't be the one to say this because I think it's a universal truth, but everything that America Ferrera uttered in that monologue was 100% true. It is 100% unfair. And I feel like if any of those people were any way serious with engaging with the text of the film, they would be reflecting on their own privilege. And they would be reflecting on, wow, that's really suckish that we have to put girls through that. How about we change that? You know, that's the kind of soul searching that really every guy out there should be thinking about, not being challenged, you know, not having their privilege or their authority or their overall power being threatened. But if that's all you care about, then that's why you react the way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So it just feels good, though, that for now anyway, the usual bullshit backlashes that happen with movies like these hasn't happened. And it has broken through and has become the highest grossing or the highest opening movie of the entire year. And very, very much a positive thing to see how special of a moment this was, particularly for women and for girls and for, you know, families and all kinds of women to get together and cherish this movie and appreciate this. And hopefully the message for those who are receptive of any message being put through them gets out there.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that is the idea and that is the hope with a movie like this is, the patriarchy is a bunch of bullshit. And if we ever do come to some kind of idea that we should be striving toward a more perfect society, that's something that we should be, you know, marching toward. There are a lot of people, particularly the Gen Xers and the Boomers, who have this idea that, you know, they buy into this whole slogan of Make America Great Again, which means, you know, things are bad now, but they were great back then, and let's go back to that. Which is hogwash, because they were great for you. They weren't great for everybody else. They were pretty awful for everybody else. And you not realizing that, or actually worse, you realizing that and not caring, makes it even fucking worse than what it already sounds like. It used to be, this is what Abraham Lincoln would say, you know, earn or strive toward a more perfect union. A more perfect society. And I feel like we have the tools to be that. We have the means to do that. But we have a significant chunk of civilization. A lot of them happen to be pieces of shit who are unwilling to do that and repeatedly stand in the way of that from happening. Feels like every single time we make any bit of progress, it ends up being rolled back 20 years later because of a backlash to something.
Yeah. I just hope that I think like with you guys, like realizing things that this movie has shown you, I think that's good, and I hope that happens to a lot of men. But I hope that it happens to a lot of women as well.
Yes.
Because I think like in the end that this movie is for them, for us. Obviously, like if you're open to it, you know, it could be for you too, but ultimately I think it's for them. And I hope that they, you know, because America for us has this line of men hate women, women hate women.
Yeah, I caught that too. And that's true.
That's very
because
true.
don't forget, 51% of white women voted for Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election. By the way, at that point, back in 2016, what Donald Trump was most known for at that point was the whole grab him by the pussy comments.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that they take something positive out of this movie. And even if it's not the message, I hope that it is at least for them to just be and to stand by each other. because just
Yeah, but then also, where is all the conservative media pushing this? I mean, look how much they cared about the idea of child sex trafficking and how much it meant to them, what much of a serious issue it is. Where are all those people when it comes to supporting this film that has an equally, if not more importantly, powerful message? What happened to that? Where are all the religious groups out there who want to bring attention to empowering women? Is it maybe you have no interest in doing that?
yeah, because it's artsy and it's pink and it's pretty.
And Hollywood's gay, probably, right? So that's maybe the big thing here. And apparently, that's... I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit bitter about how well Sound of Freedom is performing. It's really bad how it came in ahead of Mission Impossible. It makes my skin crawl. This past week,
I saw somebody on Facebook, of course, post this thing of comparing Sound of Freedom with, I was gonna say Sound of Freedom with with the Barbie movie, and it was something like, actually, keep talking, I want to find it because it's so funny.
And that's not to, I know people who have seen the film and enjoy it just fine. That's not to, like, diminish that film or attack it. It's me more to single out conservative media and conservative audiences for really picking and choosing what they deem as an okay message and a not okay message. A message-heavy movie that they like is important. Everybody should get their ass off and go see it. But if it's a message they don't like, they label it woke, and they attack it, and they criticize it, and they demand that it be banned. And that, by the way, is not anything that we can associate with American politics. We can definitely associate that with the politics of Nazi Germany. Because how more apparent do you have to be as a lost individual when you are complaining about Harrison Ford gleefully punching Nazis in the face in his movies? Which, yes, by the way, Harrison Ford got a lot of hate for that.
Wild.
For saying that comment, that he likes to punch Nazis in the face, or at least his character does.
Let me read it. It's in Spanish, so my translation might not be the best. But it basically starts off with saying, why is Barbie so big, and why isn't Sound of Freedom bigger, blah, blah, blah. So, and then it talks about the messaging of the movies. So with Barbie, it says that men are stupid. The traditional family is irrelevant. The thing that makes women, like, great is their physical appearance. Anybody could be a Barbie, including a guy.
Wait, what?
Yeah, literally this is what people are saying right now. I don't know what the other words mean. I'm sorry. My translation is not good. And then it talks about the messaging of Sound of Freedom, that the parents are essential. Traditional families are fundamental. Real men defend children. It's just so funny.
Who walks away from Barbie thinking that part of the messaging of the movie is the family is irrelevant, when
it's literally
at the core of the film about a mother and a daughter?
Barbie is, like, that's what Barbie is. Barbie was made for a daughter. Like, just because it's I think what they're getting at is, like, the beginning of the movie of, like, the kids throwing away the baby dolls. But, like, that is what happened, though. Like, that is...
We just described how stupid that takeaway was. There's no basis for it. That's not at all in the text of the film. If if you took that away from that moment, you're looking for reasons to bring the movie down. Like, you're bringing that into the movie. The movie isn't saying that, first of all. And then the one that was more horrific was like, what, about saying that men can be Barbie too? I guess because one of the actors was transgender.
Uh-huh.
And again, that's just like you're bringing this whole transphobic element into it, with like, hey, and then also how they frame it with the sense of the traditional family. What are you saying by that to all the people and all the families and all the children who do not fall into the confines of what it means to be quote unquote traditional? Like, this is the where it always ends up coming back to. Are you saying to all of those kids who happen to be LGBTQ plus or trans or anything, or belong, or let's say they are of a different ethnicity or a different nationality or of a different religion or of a different family makeup, are you saying to them they don't matter?
They
are you saying to them, go away? Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Which is crazy. That will always be crazy to me, because you preach about...
You preach love, apparently, right? And acceptance, and that's the last thing you ever do.
Yeah, you don't ever show it. And in fact, you do the complete opposite to people who are different from you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. Crazy.
Like, for all the accusations that Hollywood is this propaganda machine, yeah, it is. But then again, so are you assholes. You are the groomers. All of these, and by the way, oftentimes, the pedophiles happen to be in your camp. So back the fuck off. And like I said back in 2016, because in 2016 there was the big issue of like the whole, like, remember it was the bathrooms and the gender neutral bathrooms that were a big talking point. And I said, you are far more likely to be sexually assaulted by a presidential candidate than you are by any transgender people walking into the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, didn't that person just recently go through a whole New York trial thing where he was found liable of sexual battery or something?
I mean, I believe it.
And then that person is suing them again because he slandered her on national television. So it's like, again, there is no sense of moral authority that these people feel they should fall back on, because it falls apart almost entirely, or almost before it even gets off the ground. But anywho, not really sure what else to say other than this film was pretty great, and I'm gonna see it again. And I really do hope that people remember this movie at the end of the year. I think they will.
I think so too.
Remember the film at the end of the year, because it is definitely worth being in the conversation as one of the things that made the year of 2023 in movies, for sure. And for as much as I know that Oppenheimer has a clear advantage, because that's the kind of film that these people eat up, and I mean the awards voters and all that group, one would hope that Barbie ends up getting as much recognition. And by the way, Dick Clark's production, if you're out there listening, because they recently purchased the Golden Globes. Nobody knows if the Golden Globes are going to be on streaming next year or on NBC. They're still kind of shuffling it up, but it was a little known story earlier in the year. They got purchased by Dick Clark's Productions, which also puts on a whole different round of, shows like that. So I would ask, and I would hope that they be brought back, because the Globes always keep things interesting with having different kinds of winners that don't ultimately end up being winners at the Academy. But I just know that if the Globes were on this year, Barbie would do really, really, really well there. And it would definitely help that film and all those involved in the movie get not just more attention, but then also more accolades down the line. Because I would think that in the conversation of awards, we should be talking about Greta Gerwig For screenplay and directing, we should be talking about Ryan Gosling, and we should be talking about Margot Robbie for a start. And as far as costume design and production design, it better be fucking there. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. I agree.
And picture too. It should definitely get a Best Picture nomination.
I mean,
for how
yeah.
I mean, it should be, because like of how, if nothing else,
the impact.
for how much it's done. Yes, the impact, but how much it's done to support movies. Isn't that why Top Gun Maverick got so much praise last year, with how much credit it got for bringing people back to the movies? Well, Barbie just brought people back to the movies. So if it doesn't get nominated, will that then be exactly, again, the situation that we're in, where the male-heavy film that brought people back to the movies gets nominated, but the female-heavy one does not?
I am suddenly interested in who is going to win animation.
Oh, do we really have to have a conversation about that?
Oh.
Do you think it's not going to be Spider-Man?
Oh shit, I forgot about Spider-Man.
Well, I mean,
I'm
speaking
sorry.
of one animated movie that's pink and slightly gay, for the people, and a little bit of a woman power type of thing, Nimona.
Yes, I've heard Nimona. I've heard good things about it as well. I would say Nimona is gonna. What is it?
I kept telling him to watch it.
I was gonna watch it way before you told me. I don't know what you're talking about, but but yeah.
I'm sure Nimona will get nominated, but it's like how is Spider-Man not gonna win?
Oh yeah,
that?
Spider-Man's gonna win it.
Okay, just kidding. I completely forgot about Spider-Man. I was thinking of Super Mario Bros. And Elemental, and I was like,
I mean, please. I'm sorry to those movies, but like, I feel like Across the Spider-Verse is the best looking animated movie ever made.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
I just completely forgot that it was animated.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, like, technically sequels don't always win in this category, it's undeniable how great Across the Spider-Verse is. And even though, like, the first one, Into the Spider-Verse, did win the Oscar, I'm pretty confident Across the Spider-Verse is guaranteed of that win. What a fucking movie. Seriously, that one is one for the ages. And if we were living in a just world, it should get a Best Picture nomination.
Yes.
Animated films usually don't. Only three ever have. What if
it
Across
does?
the Spider-Verse, I'll be here for
Oh
it.
my god. I'm sorry to Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. Don't do that. Fucking Kyle. He was saying that all weekend long. Oppenheimer. It's like, dude, that's not how it's...
Are you gonna tell us about Comic-Con?
There wasn't much to say. I would say that it was more or less the same as last year. The general makeup of it, there was a lot of merchandise. I enjoyed myself as best I could. But it was a little bit more tiring for me this year. It was a lot more walking. It felt a lot more congested.
Oh, interesting.
It was like, I felt like I was especially in those first few hours, barely being able to move.
Well, I guess, because there wasn't a lot of other things for people to do other than to be on the floor. So I guess.
That's the thing, yeah. So it's like, maybe it would have been better if the actress had waited a week to go on strike. That way I wouldn't have to go through that. And the panels would have been there and everything. But yeah, it was a significant lack of
things to do.
Panels to distract that. Yeah. So, but we did see some celebrities that were there. We caught a glimpse of Rizzo, the rat from the Muppets. He was there. We also saw a picture of Jamie Lee Curtis. She happened to have a booth there because she's promoting her book. But when we were there, she happened to be doing a panel, I think, so didn't end up seeing her.
I did see that she was doing that.
And Leonard Maltin actually walked past us.
Oh.
And his daughter. Yeah, that was just like really strange to happen of all things.
That would happen to me a lot too. And I'd just be like, Like, you kind of just do, like, a double
Yeah,
take, and you're
right?
like, wait, what the fuck? Well, I told you, right,
Yeah.
that happened with, Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, I mean, he was tall, so I kind of singled him out, but...
Yeah, but sometimes like celebrities just walk in front of me and you're like, what? Like years and years ago, I seriously think it was. This is back when Hannah Montana was on the air, but Jason Earls, I think, walked past me at Disney California Adventure Park. Yeah. In the place nobody goes to as much, in the Creek Challenge Trail area next to. Yeah, I know. It was a pretty random area. Yeah, at that point they had like a Brother Bear show in the area. If you remember that, long time ago. But yeah, these things happen. But honestly, it felt more so that I was in the presence of an actual celebrity because we kept getting stopped. I want to say at least every 8 to 12 minutes because of Kyle's costume. So he showed up in costume, and come on. What did you guys think of the pictures? So
that was fucking funny.
I mean, because he literally has the look of Jason Momoa. So he was wearing the Aquaman costume. He had the trident. And honestly, so many people stopped him for a picture.
So funny.
In the span of 30 seconds, we walked past a group of people, and I overheard two of them say, "He looks just like," as we're just walking on.
Wow. That's awesome,
I
honestly.
bet he was eating it up, too.
He really was. I mean, honestly, I think from a distance, you could be forgiven for thinking that actually was Jason Momoa in costume. There's even a funny moment where some guy in costume came up and asked for a picture, and Kyle literally had no idea who that was because he didn't see the show, but it was from Peacemaker. It was Vigilante. This guy that was dressed as Vigilante from Peacemaker was literally asking Kyle for a picture. That was a cool moment. It was a cool costume, too. No, it was a lot of fun. I had a really wonderful conversation with one of the artists there. I had seen his booth from last year, but he had this really beautiful piece of Jackie Chan Adventures, the animated show that is now over 20 years old. I didn't even realize this myself, but it's like it debuted in 2000.
Wow.
It's like over 20 years, and I was like gushing so much about it. Did I share with you the images of that poster or
You
not?
showed me.
I showed David, but I didn't show you, Alexis. I'm going to share with you right now because I thought it is definitely up my alley because he definitely he said he was working on it for like a few months, putting in so much detail into the poster from like all of the 5 seasons of the show, literally all the characters, all the different little iterations. Like, look how much detail, the talismans, and how they're placed. It is a perfect poster. Like legitimately, I was like, wow. And I was like having a full-blown conversation with him about, this particular piece. And he was telling me that how this even got started was recently the main voice actor, because it wasn't Jackie Chan, it was somebody else that voiced Jackie in the animated show, James something, that the main voice actor from the show liked the artist's pieces of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And so he linked up with him, and the voice actor, James, commissioned the artist to do this particular piece for Jackie Chan Adventures, because you don't see that much merch or really recognition for Jackie Chan, even though to me it still remains one of my all-time favorite animated shows. Like, to me, it was a linchpin of the animated shows that I would see back in those times. And to me, this piece that we're seeing right now is pretty definitive. And so he was talking about how he was commissioned to do the piece, and that James, the main voice actor, was also like using this as an opportunity to reconnect with his old co-stars and like to share this piece with them. and then and to see how much they also have responded so much to it. Was just a really nice story to talk to him about, but it is, and of course, the artist himself happens to be, and you can tell, a big fan of the show as well. He definitely grew up with it. I think he was very much our age, I feel like. He had to be if he grew up with the show.
Yeah, because it's very, niche. Like...
Yeah, it very much is. But it's like, I couldn't believe it, but it is over 20 years ago.
Dang.
I remember that show, like... if you didn't have cable, that's what you would watch. With, like, and, like, when we moved to Brawley, there was, like, a time where we didn't have cable. And we would watch that, and, this show about this, woman, and she's a warrior. I can't remember. It says
Xena
like
Warrior?
X. Yeah. We would watch that, and then, Muppet Babies.
I feel like, to me, this would be one of the shows that would be a linchpin of my Kids WB lineup. I was all about Kids WB. I would see this Jackie Chan Adventures. I would see Yu-Gi-Oh! I would see Pokemon. I would see Jowlin Showdown, which in a way maybe kind of... Remember that show, Jowlin Showdown? Remember that?
God,
I loved it. They even had Mucha Lucha on there. They had so many different kinds of programming on there that was so good. Even the... yeah, all of it. I was just like, for years and years, I would be on there. I want to say from 2003 to 2006, every Saturday morning I would be there. And even in the afternoons, on some days after school, they would play a lot of these shows. Yeah, I was kind of obsessed. And so it was really nice to see this piece, because you can tell that was the only Jackie Chan Adventures piece in the entire Comic-Con, like, or thing ever, basically. So it's nice that we're at a point where they're some of these artists are looking for, because there's a lot more that's not represented. Because at Comic-Con, honestly, after a while, it feels like you're seeing a lot of the same things. It's a lot of Marvel, it's a lot of DC, it's a lot of Star Wars, but it's really the smaller. It's the stuff that doesn't get as much recognition that really sticks with you. So I didn't get a chance to get it, only because I don't have the space for it. But I do have his website, and I can share with you the link if you want to see the poster. Let me just share for those of you who are wondering, the website is Matsumoto, Matsumoto. I don't know. Let's see here. They're right now. I don't think they're selling right now because they were at Comic-Con, but they might. You need to go. The website here is matsumotoart.com, and this is one of their newest pieces. And he had
the Cabbage Man.
What? Oh yeah. That Cabbage Man, I think he said, he told me that someone, no,
well,
I
he
think
wrote it down.
also...
I can read it.
Okay,
I'm honored and excited to share with you all Prosperity, which is my latest artwork inspired by the celebration of the Avatar verse created by the incredible Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. A huge thank you to talented C. James, voice of the iconic Cabbage Merchant, for personally reaching out and asking me to make this piece of art. That is so cool.
And I think, he played the Cabbage Merchant on Avatar, but that's also the same person that played Jackie.
Oh!
On Jackie Chan Adventures. I think so, yeah. Let me see. Where were you reading that off of? I'm on the
Instagram.
website, and I'm like, where? Oh, duh. I was like, okay, that makes more sense. No, but I really enjoyed. To me, why I go to Comic-Con is to meet these artists and to see their work, and there was a lot. And also, I want to recommend people this wonderful website, hcgart.com, and they also have just different artists that are commissioned to do movie posters on a variety of different ones, and they're all spectacular. I mean, there was one. Oh my! I think Alexis would have died. There was one of the newer ones they had was a brand new Grease poster. It was spectacular. Spectacular.
Cry.
And I would check up their website to see if they would have it up on there, but it was amazing.
Wait, this guy?
It was not this guy, somebody else.
Oh, okay.
This is a different website. I have their card right here. But it's not a artist. It's a group of artists
Power?
who are commissioned to do different pieces. It is hcgart.com. The coupon, they give me a coupon code. That's what you were reading, Power Up. But their Instagram is at Hero Complex Gallery. For those of you who want to follow these artists. Let me see here. Yeah, this James who played the Cabbage Man is also the same James that played Jackie Chan. Wanted to confirm that on there, and I think he put on let's see here. And this is what he wrote. This is what James wrote on his Instagram in response to that poster. Imagine your first voiceover job ever was the title role in a new network cartoon that would run 5 seasons. One in which you got to play not only the hero, but a couple of the villains as well. That was my experience on Jackie Chan Adventures back in 2000 on the Kids WB. What great luck. What a great way to launch a career you never thought you'd have a chance at. I loved every minute working on that show. Well, every minute I wasn't thinking I'd be fired. And learning from such generous, talented pros and an extraordinary cast of regulars and guest stars. It was truly like winning the lottery. And now, almost, what is that? She Loves Me Not by Glenn. I'm reading something on this. David is stunned.
Yeah, I think that's Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right? Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They got a lot of wonderful ones. You're going to lose yourself in that website. And to continue what James was saying, and now almost 25 years later, all 5 seasons of Jackie Chan Adventures has been brought back to vivid life with this amazing new artwork by Matsumoto Art. I can't adequately tell you how awed I am by this poster. MK remembers more about the show than I do, and it's such a joy to discover characters and situations I'd totally forgotten. He puts such care and artistry into every image. So, he definitely was a fan, for sure. And I think he also showed, that's beautiful. He got to show the poster to, look who I got to drop a Jackie Chan Adventure poster off to. It's Uncle himself. Saab Shimono. This is, and he literally looks like Uncle.
Yeah, he
on the show. It's
does. I
crazy.
saw it.
Look at this.
Oh my God.
Him holding the poster. He looks exactly
That's
like
funny.
him. So cool.
Ooh, that ET poster. I'm just.
Which one? Let me see.
Oh, I think it
That's
looks
the one-
kind of like the one you got, but I think ET is just bigger.
Ah.
Oh, that's the one I
okay, it
have.
is.
That's the one. I went to go look for that booth because that's the one I purchased a year ago, last Comic-Con. That ET poster is amazing. Guys, you're gonna get yourselves lost in that website. There's a lot of wonderful posters
Dang.
on there. And again, it's not just one artist. It is a collection of artists that are with that label, I guess you could say, and they're commissioned to do a whole bunch of stuff. I want to say. You might even see an X-Men the Animated Series poster on there, because that's what I saw on their booth while I was flipping through them. They had one of Ghostbusters, Taxi Driver, Grease, Gladiator, Mad Max Fury Road. Of course, they've had different Star Wars ones. Again, just this ultimately is why I go, is to see the art and everything. And so as far as that's concerned, I would say that's definitely worth it. But yeah, I could definitely feel more people on the floor since there was nowhere else to go. Now, that being said, there were always and always are events happening outside, but that seemingly wasn't enough. This time around, yes, I saw that one in person, Alexis, and I was like, wow. That wizard, the Wizard of Oz is the black and white transitioning into the color of Oz right there.
That's awesome.
Again, for people who didn't get it the first time, the site that we're all looking at is hcgart.com. Make sure to put in Red Spotlight as your coupon. No, I'm kidding. Imagine if only that was the case. No, I was doing the exact same thing today. And also, just so in case people are curious, the Instagram, Facebook handle that I got from that group was Hero Complex.
Don't say what it is.
Gallery.
This may be a present for somebody.
I can't tell what it is.
I'm a little bit confused. What is that? I can't see.
It's just.
Can you send me
You're gonna have to send it to the group to message us.
Yeah, Hero Complex Gallery is. Even though I'm not even sure. Yeah, that is their site on Instagram. If you want to follow them there. Yeah. Oh, this was the one I mentioned here, the X-Men the animated series poster.
That's from a good one.
I just saw one for How to Train Your Dragon, and it's fucking beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Welcome to the West Virginia by Glenn. Jesus.
Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
There's a couple of Voltron posters. Damn.
No, yeah, Kyle himself was also very much impressed with the quality of these posters. The group that I went with last year, this was the one booth where all of us got something. This is, nice. I love it. Gremlins. This is the one booth where all of us got something, and it was damn well worth the money because it was just beautiful, beautiful stuff that we're seeing here. And it's not like all their stuff is sold out. I think if you go on the website, there's a lot of stuff available. So if you want, unlike like Mondo or other places where that stuff is just like nowhere to be found. And hey, you can even try your luck at eBay by looking up these posters if you'd like, but they're pretty freaking incredible. These are
pretty cheap. There's a couple ones like, 30, 35.
That ET one, which is immaculate, is $45 right now.
Yeah, I think that's totally worth it. And with the way it looks, it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, Lord knows I paid more for that when I was in person at Comic-Con, but it's like, fine, whatever. Like, you're there getting it at the place. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and gush over posters. So we're going to go ahead and cut off the podcast here at that. Even though it feels like we stopped recording. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you under our spotlight next time. Bye-bye, everybody.